Welcome to this edition of More Getting Asked For podcast. Summer is here. That's the name of the episode. We're not going to talk a lot of sports here. We got a short amount of time. You know how it is in the summertime. If you've listened to us over the years, it's a little bit more difficult. We don't have to, 9 o'clock on a Wednesday night isn't the best time in the summer compared to the winter when we're not doing much. There's more things going on. So we're making it work. It's going to be short and sweet today. But here Wednesday afternoon, Trevor's joined us as well. And Trevor actually is across town. He's back for a little bit, doing a little work and a little vacation, kind of combining both. And we do appreciate that. Saw him the other night. Thanks for stopping by, Trev, at Paige's party. And then we went over to a friend's house and enjoyed the evening and Memorial Weekend. And next week we have big time get together. But until then, we'll do just fine hanging out and doing things. And one thing just I want to talk about is we just finished graduation season, 3 straight weekends for my family with Connor and then now Paige, and parties and graduations and setup and takedown and just the stresses of it all. We are finally done with all that. Now it's time to just watch baseball and enjoy the summer. And welcome, Trev.
Good to be back home. I mentioned that we saw you the other night, and then, of course, with Paige graduation, plenty of that stuff going on. You mentioned we got our Ozarks trip coming up here soon, so that's going to be a fun one. We'll have to, after that trip, we'll have to pick out what our favorite course was, or some of our favorite holes, maybe, because I remember most of the courses down there, but it's been a few years, so that's something we're gonna have to say for after the trip, is maybe one of us will have our favorite course or favorite holes down there.
Yeah, there's great holes to each of the course. We're playing those. I did get your packet just yesterday, Trev. So
that's good that you got it. Okay, good.
Yeah. So thanks. That was funny. Laura really enjoyed that. She's like, "You got to be kidding me." I'm like, "Nope, this is what we do."
Yeah. It's I do that all in Word document. I used to be pretty good at that stuff, but now the technology's changed over the years. I'm starting to fall a little bit behind, but it was good enough, we'll say.
Oh, absolutely. You just need to type it or talk it into Chat GPT, and I'll make it all for you, Trev. You don't have to make it anymore.
Yeah, but that's like cheating. I don't like doing that.
No, I get it. No, that will be super fun. I know we just had a little change there where we get an extra night down at the Ozarks if we want. I don't know if I'll be down there for that. I'll make that decision soon. But no, Ozarks National. Are we playing all 27 of that, Trev, or just 18 of it?
I think we're just doing the river and mountain course on Thursday. I don't think we're doing that last 9 on Thursday.
Okay. The river is great. Obviously, it's by the river, and then the mountains is up and down and windy. Played it many, many times. It's good. I'm a sucker for Old Kinderhook. I really like that golf course. And then obviously the Tantera Oaks course is you get down by the actual lake. Old Kinderhook is by the lake too, but it's in and around the lake, and you see the lake from different spots on the course and stuff. And I played all of them several times. I like all 3 of them. There's some other courses there that are really nice as well, but those are the 3 we're playing this, right? We're not going up to the Cove or anything, are we, this time?
Nope, those are the 3. And I got an extra dozen noodles because there's going to be a few holes on each course where I'm going to have to pull out a noodle instead of a really good ball. And I hit a bad tee shot, I won't care as much when it goes out of bounds. Yeah,
the Cove is the one that'll get you, I think, of the ones that we played in our time going down there in the last 5 to 10 years. I think there's some other ones down there, Portosima and stuff, but those aren't what we play when we get down there. No, it's always fun, but it's fun getting around people that some of them I see a lot, some of them like you we don't see a lot. I talk to you a lot, but don't see a lot, and it will be super fun, super quick. But no, summertime is here. Let's talk sports real quick for about 10 minutes here. And really the only topic I want to talk about, yes, we could talk NBA playoffs. Yes, we could talk NHL playoffs, baseball. The Cubs won 10 in a row, now lost 10 in a row, so I guess it's a wash. But the college football meetings are happening right now, and there seems to be the sentiment the SEC is holding out right now, but I do believe it will get okayed here relatively soon, will be the 2014 playoff. Initially, I say no, but when you look at it deeper, it is the right thing for Iowa State University. It gives them a much better chance. It does diminish the regular season of college football, which has always been the prize. You know, when you're watching an NFL game on October 12th and the Chiefs are 10-0 and they lose a game, it's not that big a deal. You're watching, you know, Iowa State or Iowa, they're 10-0, 9-1 on October 15th, and they lose a game. It's bad. It's really bad. Now, with the 2014 playoff, somebody's 10-0, 9-1 on October 15th, they lose a second game. It's not bad. So that's the only thing I'm a little bit worried about, but I understand it. And for Iowa State in particular, it's the best thing. Now, if I'm, you know, Ohio State, Georgia, Alabama, I don't want it. It gives more people a chance. You don't want more people, you know, because Ohio State, Michigan, Alabama, Georgia, you know, Miami, those teams, they could get in a 14 playoff. I'm like Ohio State's the perfect example. They've won it at 4. They've won it in the BCS area where it was just computers deciding. They've won it in the 12 team. They'll win it no matter what. So, but just your initial thoughts, Trev, and then obviously just, you know, almost a little bit of college sports in general here. I'll give you about 5 minutes to just talk on that.
Well, for 24, it feels inevitable now. I haven't really looked at anything in the past week, call it, but yeah, you're right. For a team like Ohio State or some of the big dogs, they're most, you know, 8 or 9 out of 10 years, they're going to have really good teams and they're going to be able to make the smaller playoffs. For Iowa State, a bunch of other programs, more people to the party. Now, typically, if Iowa or Iowa State goes and plays Bama or Iowa State or someone like that, probably going to lose. But, you know, every once in a while you do pull those upsets. Yep. And the worst time for that for those big programs would obviously be in the playoff because then they'd be out and have no chance to win the Natty. So, and we've talked about with the spreading money in NIL that there's going to be programs every 2 or 3 years that kind of come out of nowhere potentially. And the money too, just because you know, a school like Indiana or Vanderbilt, maybe they have a lot of money right now, doesn't necessarily mean that money will be there in 10 years from now.
Right.
Because those people have to keep donating the money, and some of them may get sick of it after a while. So, yeah, the 2014 playoff does seem inevitable, though. Now, have they come out with any more details on it, like the top 4 from the conferences or at-larges?
The one that I heard, and I like this one, it's not necessarily always – I think this is what needs – is 23 at-large, 1 automatic of the best G5. You know, their champ or however you want to say it. That's the automatic. Now, that doesn't mean they can't get more than that in a 24, but they're 1 guaranteed spot, even if they wouldn't be in the top 24. And then everybody else is just an at-large. So, you know, if 1 year the SEC has 12 teams that are ranked in the top 24, they get 12. I don't have a problem with that. And then the next year they only have 6. The Big 12 has 4. The Big 10 has 7. I mean, I like just the open it up, rank them. You know, essentially a 2014 playoff is essentially the top 25. I mean, if you just really get down to it. So just essentially get yourself in the top 25 and get in there.
Yeah, I don't mind that model 23 and then /1 potentially, like you mentioned. That, and like you said, it's basically the top 25. If they really wanted to get interesting, you know, for that 24, 25 spot in the rankings, they could maybe have them play a game to get into the playoff, you know, like March Madness and some of this other stuff. Now, we don't want to get in that big, and I don't think it will. But, yeah, no, that 23-1 that you mentioned would be fine. Like you said, they'd automatically get 1 in every year, but there could be years where maybe they get 2 or 3 if they've got some really good teams.
Yeah, like this last year where they got 2, you know, and that's good. I mean, they didn't really deserve to be there, I don't think. But, hey, the way the rankings fell and everything, and I don't mind it. I mean, and then, you know, I don't like the certain one, like 6 automatic from the SEC, 6 from the Big Ten, 4 from the Big 12, 4 from the ACC. I don't like that because, like I gave the example, certain years, and not that they wouldn't, but the SEC may have 12 teams that deserve a chance, and you don't want to limit their number. And then one year, the Big 12 only deserves 1 team in. And then the next year it might be 4. Like you said, there's cycles to this. And, one year the Big 10 deserves 10. Next year it's only 4. I mean, those things happen. That's where you don't want, the 4th best Big 10 team to get in, and they really don't deserve to be there, but just because they're in the Big 10, they get it. But on the same thing as, if there's only 2 teams in the Big 12 that deserve to be in there, that's all that should be in there. It shouldn't be 4 or however you do it. But I like the 23-1. I'm going to guess there's going to be some more back and forth, and I'm going to make my assumption it's not going to be 23-1 when it's all said and done, because you're going to have to get the SEC on board, and they're going to want something. So we're probably going to have to give some more automatic spots, but it is what it is. Like you said, it's inevitable. It's like the Avengers. It's just inevitable. He's gonna. They're gonna snap their fingers, and it's gonna be there, and half of it's just gonna be gone.
Yeah, as you mentioned, there'll be some years where a 4th place team, or if they did 6 automatic from a conference, a 6th place team could have a 7-5 record or something like that. And then you're like, well, do they really need to be in? And then there's other years where the conference just has a great year, and maybe 4th or 5th place is sitting there at 10-2 and probably does deserve to get in, depending on who they played, of course. So, yeah, there's ebbs and flows of it, as you mentioned, every year. Of course, I'm sure Notre Dame would like this because they know they could probably finish the top 23 most every single year. So now they don't have to worry about joining the conference anymore.
Right.
So that kind of frees it up for them, which I don't really like. I want them to join I kind of like their independence because it's old school, but I do kind of want them to join. As I've said on here for years, they feel like a Big Ten team to me, but I know they're kind of half in with the ACC too, with other sports. So, but I'm sure Notre Dame would like that model, of course.
Yeah, and you got to think Alabama, Georgia, Michigan, Ohio State. If you can't get in every year on the top 25, then that's on you. You've got all the resources, and they are. I mean, when was the last time Ohio State finished out of the top 25?
It's a good trivia question. I don't know.
I have no idea. That actually is a really good trivia. It's been a while. And, yeah, so those teams are always going to have a chance, and they're always going to have good players, just like, Ohio State was like the 10 seed. Miami was the 10 seed and made the championship game. So it is what it is. I don't love it, but it's what's coming. So we're going to fall in love with it. And guess what's going to happen? When it's on, we're going to watch it. We're going to enjoy it no matter who it is, because we love college football. And as long as there's still some semblance of college football going, I'm going to watch, even though it's becoming – every day much more like the NFL minor league.
Yeah, it definitely is. And rivalry games will still matter, of course, as long as they continue to play them. Iowa State, all the others, Georgia Tech, and all the others that we've known over the years since we were kids. Those will still matter to the fan bases for each school. Yep. Now, again, you are allowed to lose a game here and there and still make the playoff with it going to the 24 number that we think it's going to. So, yeah, the regular season will lose a little bit of its luster, but I don't know, when Ohio State and Michigan are playing, I still think they're going to get massive numbers. The stadiums are still going to be packed. It's just, if you're sitting there at 10-1 or whatever they would be at that point in the season, if you lose that game, you're probably still getting in the playoff at least. So, and you might see them again.
Right. And they've talked about load management and stuff, and that's true. It's going to happen. But can you imagine load management in Michigan, Ohio State? Those fans you ask those fans, they would rather beat Michigan than win the national championship, and vice versa. Like the year Ohio State did win it with Ryan Day, they lost to Michigan. You don't think Michigan forgot that? No, you listen to Portnoy, he brings it up every day, even though Michigan won it the year before. He doesn't care one bit about the Natty. It's every year we beat Michigan 4 straight times up until this year, I think. It was something like that.
Yeah, and that game's going to matter. And if they were to do load management, I mean, whoever did it first, let's just use those two teams as an example. I mean, the other fan base would never let them hear the end of it.
Oh, yeah.
And then that would be like a calling card for the other team, well, we're never going to do that. And that they could, put their stamp on it, of course. Load management too, as long as they get the schedule figured out, like we talked about a few weeks ago, if they get the playoffs started early, there won't be a lot of time for that necessarily, because you don't really want, maybe you set a guy out a half or something like that, but you don't really want these long layoffs. You want your players to stay in rhythm, especially even at that age. It's tough enough for NFL guys or other sports to keep their routine and stay in rhythm, and it's even tougher for the younger guys.
Yeah, what's going to happen is if a guy is playing through a little bit of an injury, you may sit him. And I don't necessarily call that load management. That's just, you err on the side of caution a little bit more, because every game doesn't matter as much. A guy that could probably fight through and give you a 70%, you may sit him. So next week he's at 85% instead of only 80%. That would be the load management that I see. But truly just sitting a guy to save him, I don't think that would happen in rivalry games like that. Now, that game, and it's going away, that Alabama versus Mercer on November 10th, that game, absolutely, they would sit a guy. But that game's going away. They talked about that this week. So I do know we can't go too long here, so that's probably about enough on that, unless you have any last thoughts on that, Trev.
No, that's probably good on the 2014 playoff. I mean, we're going to talk more and more about that as August and September get closer for us, and that'll be here before we know it anyway. So we'll have plenty of time to really expand on that once more information comes out too.
Absolutely. All right, last few minutes here. I want to talk about this more of a summertime. Your favorite summer activities. I'll give you 2 activities each when you were a kid and then today.
Well, when I was a kid, it was riding bikes, first of all.
Yep. No, that's awesome.
Because that was your first form of transportation, especially for you growing up too, and me, people our age. You'd ride bikes all day and all night. And then probably my second favorite one, as I got a little bit older and I could drive around, well, technically when I had my learner's permit or school permit, whatever it was called back then, I had a couple different locations I could say I lived. And I was one of the older kids in our class, so I would drive all our friends around. And my plan was, if I ever got pulled over, I could say, well, I'm heading here because this is where I live, or no, actually I'm heading here. This is my grandparents' address. So they were in different directions. That was always my plan. I don't think it really ever happened, but when I was a kid, it was riding bikes. And then once you got to driving age, it was cruising around, cruising the strip in the summertime, of course, playing your music. Everybody's got their loudspeakers and their basses and their CDs that they've made from Win Mix and LimeWire. So those were probably
Napster. I'm older than you. It was Napster when I was. But yeah, LimeWire was the next version after Napster got you. Just think about how many viruses we uploaded onto computers in our day, Trev.
A lot of people got the same ones because you download a song and it might be the band but the wrong song title, or vice versa. And then everybody got confused because they thought this person sang it and it really wasn't. And then of course, when you're making those CDs, you gotta really get detailed if you could. I had bad handwriting, so I couldn't fit 18 to 20 song titles on the cover of a CD disc because I couldn't write that small and that neat. So I'd have to, go to the printer, print it out in small print, and then put it like in a CD case. That was the only way I could do it. But yeah, riding bikes, and then once you got to driving age, just driving around with your friends, messing around, doing mostly harmless stuff, but some stuff you probably shouldn't have been doing.
Oh, absolutely. All right. Now, how about today, Trev?
Well, today it's, speaking of golf, I mean, it's golf, and then I'll kind of combine it, but it's sitting around a fire, listening to music, or going to a concert, of course, because the weather's nice. But you can kind of combine music, any way you can get it. Yeah,
so I'm going to do mine. I'm going to start with now and then go to when I was younger. So now is golf, and then, kind of the same as you, but concerts. I'm not going to say concerts, but I'm going to say exactly what we did on, was that Sunday night when we went to our buddy's house, sitting around with friends at a pool, around a fire, doesn't really matter what, but just sitting around, having a few brews and just chilling out. Music's playing, even though they're arguing about what songs should be being played, whatever. but just sitting around with friends, enjoying the time. As you get older, and we've talked about this, and you never know when it's going to end for somebody. So enjoy the time and just being around people that you care about. And then obviously on the golf course is number one. But
yeah, no, you're right. Especially as we're getting older, you don't want to take those moments for granted. And yeah, the other night sitting around listening to music, everybody's having their own little fun arguments, not bad arguments, just debating stuff and cooking food. And yeah, I mean, when you become an adult, that's a little bit more relaxing too. You just find a comfy chair or a place to post up and just BS with everybody.
Yeah. And then as a kid, I was a bit, it was one of the summers were the best because, and this was more like high school, but 6:00 was weightlifting. 7:30 was basketball. And then on certain days you had some football stuff, and then you played baseball that night. So, I mean, it was this is just my world. It was perfect. You became a better athlete. Then you worked on every sport that you did. And then at night you went and played baseball. And then in between there was, like I mowed yards, so I had to mow a yard or you just did whatever, from noon to 3:00 or whatever. You didn't have all day, but just whatever you did. Okay. So that's when I was older. And then, like you said, when you were little and you didn't have the phone and the communications, you rode your bike around town and found where all your buddies were because all their bikes were in front of one of your buddies' houses. And then you got together and we had this one friend, he had a ping pong table and we had darts, and then, the Nintendo was going, or Sega or whatever it was, or we'd go fishing. It didn't matter what, but just you found your friends because you didn't call. I mean, you just got on your bike and went somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
And you just hung out and doing all kinds of crazy stuff. And then, as you got older, like I said, just the every day in the summer, doing what you wanted to do. Like, not everybody was like this, but I loved playing baseball. I loved playing basketball, and we did football, and then played some golf. I didn't do golf near as much. I did golf in high school, but it wasn't near as serious, or I didn't do it near as much as I do now. But so that's kind of what I did in the summers growing up.
Yeah, pretty similar to, I mean, when we were young, you would make the plan the night before or something with everybody. But yeah, you'd ride your bike over to a friend's house. If you didn't see them there, you're like, okay, maybe they're at the other friend's house. Yep. You kind of made your rotation. And then when you took off on your bikes, you'd have your same routes that you went on, and then you'd veer off those routes a little bit. So every day was kind of the same, but a little bit different in its own way.
Absolutely. And I grew up in a town of 800 to 1,000 people. So it was even different than like Oskaloosa. So like you truly could go from one end to the other end in like 10 minutes. I mean, and it didn't matter where anybody lived. You just went. So the only issue was like the farm kids, somebody had to bring them to town to somebody's house. And then usually they had a bike in the back of the truck, or they just kept a bike in town, like grandma lived in town or something, and they get dropped off at grandma's and then they went, or however it worked out.
Yeah, you had to have your town bike, and then if you're on a farm, you had to have maybe a bike out there or something like that. And really, all you just need a few dollars. That way, you get a pop and something to eat, a candy bar.
You go to Casey's, or we had a Ruth's 5 and Dime that you go get stuff in as well.
Yeah, we'd go up to the old South 7 store. I think it's a salon now here in town, but you could buy Tootsie Rolls and other stuff for like a penny or 5 cents, whatever the heck it was back then. So you didn't need much. And when you're a kid, that's all you just need some sugar to get you through the day.
It didn't take $3 to buy a pop, Or the other thing I do, my dad worked uptown, kind of just those old, like Eddyville, just one street is downtown. My dad's office was in that, and you stop in at dad's office and you grab some money, or he actually in the fridge back there, he might have had a pop back there, and you just grabbed one of them.
It didn't take much to get you through the day. Now, you go through a McDonald's or something, you're spending $15, and you don't even know if it's that good anymore. So yeah,
No.
but it was simpler times when we were a kid for sure.
No, but just no. Everybody that listens, have a great summer. Enjoy it. Be safe, but have fun and make memories. So I know you're on kind of a short leash here with your still working and lunch hour and stuff. So we'll get you off here. But thanks, Trev, and thanks everybody for listening. And we'll talk to everybody next week, probably Monday or Tuesday next week, because Trev and I are headed to Lake of the Ozarks.
Yep, we're heading to Lake of the Ozarks. So yeah, we'll probably talk Monday or Tuesday. Thanks everybody for listening, and yeah, keep enjoying the summer.
All right, see everybody later.